Do you know someone afraid of COVID-19? What's wrong with a future of cleanliness, sanitization, and artificial meat? Today we'll take a trip back in time to our humble beginnings as a species and progress forward to try and understand where we've been and compare it to the potential problems of where we're going. VidarReturns. Let us start from the beginning, long ago in a time before cars and television, before grocery stores and big houses. There was a time when our ancestors slept amongst the grass and the trees. Homo sapiens are dated to have been in existence for about 200,000 years. The food of the day was, well, whatever you could find. Grass, leaves, and plants don't run away, but they also don't pack a lot of calories. Hunger wasn't something that came from missing lunch. We were lucky if we had lunch, ever. No, hunger was just a constant state of life. If you were thirsty, then you'd better be near a lake, river, or mud puddle. This life standard was the majority of our existence, and we had extremely resilient health. We had to. There were no doctors, there was no medicine, and we lived on low nutrition. When food was scarce, we had to relocate. A nomadic species always on the search for new resources. It was without question a very difficult and dangerous era. Those that survived were tough as stone. Then we had a Stone-Aged upgrade, just about 10,000 years ago, to the Neolithic Agricultural Revolution. We started learning and understanding farming. We morphed from a nomadic hunter-gatherer species to a more stationary species. Because we farmed food in place, we no longer had to always be relocating and hoping to find the next crop. We made the food come to us, and having a harvest of plants and vegetables would also bring hungry animals, and these animals we could also catch and eat. If there was ever a great time for fulfilling our purpose in life, this was it. Farming enabled our ability to provide for future generations like never before. Through greater food supply, our health and populations skyrocketed. The Neolithic Revolution brought in massively beneficial things for us and our ability to thrive. We began to have more free time, which led to more socializing with neighbors and increased development of language. We were producing products that we could carry to our neighbors and barter for other resources and materials. We needed to count crops, so bartering led to increased intellectual understanding of basic mathematics like numbers and counting. We also needed ways to keep and process harvested produce, and so we had more refined developments in containers, tools, and pottery. Perhaps the most underrated advancement of this time was housing. The transition from constant nomadic travel to a more stationary life would give rise to the building of far more sophisticated homes. Stronger homes that would not only protect us from the wind and rain, but also from large predators lurking in the night. The protection from wolves, bears, and large cats would dramatically increase family safety. In these times, our health was tremendous. Future generations were better provided for, and we were self-reliant. Valuable knowledge could be passed down from generation to generation, and children could replicate everything their parents did. As centuries went on, we had no idea of what would come, for better or worse. Populations began to grow. Larger civilizations began to develop. As we moved from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age to the Iron Age, we moved from bartering to using money. Large kingdoms and governments began to form and tax that money. Wars were waged, and as the power of governments grew, so did the wars. We feared for the lives of our loved ones. Today we live in the machine age. The wars have not stopped, but the average person lives a much more bountiful life than ever before. We can look outside and see homes and buildings everywhere, massive construction. If we want to go somewhere, we can hop in a car, or a bus, or a train, and travel large distances in just minutes. No longer spending the majority of our time at home like our ancestors. We go to work in one of these buildings or factories. We've replaced dirt and insects with cleaning agents and chemicals. We no longer sleep on the earth. Instead, we sleep away from the ground. We toss and turn at night in plush and supposedly comfortable beds. We can look down the street and see neighborhoods of people who all live within walking distance of each other, but have never met each other. Today, when we are hungry or thirsty, boxes and containers of prepackaged food are in abundant supply. Just go to the cupboard and pour a bowl of sugar-filled corn treats, or have a slice of nutritionless processed grain with a dab of fat. And what is a farm? Almost no one grows their own food anymore. Today we have doctors and advanced medicine for healing people, yet for some reason physical and mental health is continually on the decline. Doctors prescribing drugs like candy and almost never prescribing natural remedies or herbs, because where's the incentive for that? Instead, our doctors' top choice of drugs come from a laboratory and complex chemical compositions. Hopefully we are one of the lucky ones who doesn't need to take drugs to cure the side effects of our other drugs. From the Neolithic times to today, we never stopped evolving as a species. We learned to manipulate nature in amazing ways, and some may even say abuse nature. But one fundamental thing is that we cannot ever change the laws of nature. As a species, we continue to evolve with every generation, and we can ask ourselves, are we evolving to become stronger and more resilient in nature, or not? What has modern technology given us? In the USA currently, 1/3 of all childbirths are through cesarean section. What is the evolutionary effect of this? Without question, there are more women birthing children today that will never be able to naturally birth their own children in the future. Consider COVID-19, a virus with a 99% survival rate. People around the world in a mass panic and hysteria over an extremely weak virus that mainly takes the life of elderly people. If our Neolithic ancestors could see our overly soft and plush lives today, what might they think? Do you think that they would be proud of us? Do they see us making sacrifices to create a stronger generation for tomorrow? Or do they see us selfishly feeding our own pleasures at the detriment of our children's future? Somewhere along the line we started to lose touch with our environment, lose touch with nature. Think about it. We're a population addicted to sugar, games, porn, and instant gratification. We go into debt to feed our insatiable desire for pleasures. With every generation, we are evolving to become more dependent on a system of advanced technology that we don't understand and is out of our control. How long can a species continue like this? If the power grid were to go offline for just a month during the middle of winter, then how many people would die in our modern society? Our very survival is resting in the balance of this technological system. But the story doesn't end there. Our species is continuing to change, continuing to evolve, but in what direction? Let us fast forward more into a future post-COVID-19, post-COVID 2035. Let us have a look far into the future of where we are headed, a few hundred years into the future. No more evolutionary pressure to adapt to living with nature. Instead, every new generation of children evolving dependence on this new world. How disconnected from nature can we become? End of Part 1. Link in the description for Part 2. VidarReturns.